the question that I have, which is what does it mean, this giyur? So we know that along the ages in the rabbinical tradition, if we look at the Talmud and so forth, so there's a few discussions about that. So does he see still a need when going in to Judaism to have any kind of a ceremonial aspect that we know, Tvila, Milah, all Kabbalat, all mitzvot?
Right.
Or does he see it as a purely sort of a spiritual thing, and so you can ask somebody, and if they say they're Jewish, and that's fine. So that's sort of the question that I have in this.
Okay, so that's a good question. What does it take to become a Jew?
Well, it's a very good question. It's a very serious, it's a little sophisticated and shrewd question. Because, first of all, I don't decide what happens today and how Judaism is determined today, whether you're a Jew or not, obviously. But we're talking about the basics. This is why I started from that. That, indeed, in those days, the days of the patriarchs, those things didn't exist. Although there was a brit, a circumcision, Sarah with Abraham, etc., and each one did it to his sons. But these are signs in the corporeal world that refer to the material, to the spiritual world. From the spiritual to the corporeal, yes? On the eighth day after birth, or the minute a person decides, when he decides for himself that he becomes Jewish, he has to go through the circumcision, the brit. This already comes from the sources. We see it immediately from Abraham.
So, no doubt. And I agree with you that the All Torah Mitzvot is a later edition from the Gemara. But so what you wrote in
לא, אני מדבר על עול תורה ומצוות, בשבילי זה דבר רוחני.
When I talk about the burden of Torah and mitzvot, for me it's a spiritual thing that Abraham started with it, that this is what he demanded from all those who wanted to join him in Babylon. That Torah or mitzvot, commandments, means you engage in loving your neighbor as yourself. This is the major rule of the Torah. The rule that Abraham demanded of all those who wanted to join him. The fact that he set up a tent and invited people over, passers-by, etc. It was all in order to explain to them the basics of Judaism, which is love your neighbor as yourself. Those who entered it did it. And the inner sign, the spiritual sign, that a person refrains, abstains from one's ego, from one's egoism. The physical sign is the circumcision. The physical circumcision.
I understand. So you wrote in the book Bundle of Reeds, so it's an interesting sort of relation to halacha, because you wrote about Mishnah and Talmud, which they have a spiritual meaning attached to their physical meaning. So the question is, in the future or even now,
Of course, there's no doubt that our holy fathers, our great sages of the Mishnah and Talmud, they wrote everything with the Holy Spirit, meaning they had spiritual sensation and awareness, not only in this world. And out of the spiritual awareness, they wrote what they wrote. We have no doubt about it.
Okay. All right. So the question is, should we still maintain both the physical and spiritual meaning? Because the physical meaning is ever changing, right? The Torah Shebe'al Peh, it's a oral Torah that keeps being updated according to the needs of the time. So where does this process have? Is it like does it have a trend that you're seeing, like a way that it's going?
זה דברים ששייכים לעולם הזה, אני לא כל כך...
These things have to do with this world. I don't really deal with these things. I only focus on the wisdom of Kabbalah. According to my understanding, it should be done, first and foremost, according to the sources. That those who want to be connected to people, other people, under the condition of loving your neighbor as yourself, where love covers all the crimes. They are called Jews, because according to this rule, they want to connect everyone, all of humanity. This is the meaning of being a light unto nations. And accordingly, we have to work. And that person will be called a Jew. And in the end, the whole world will be called Jews.
Okay, I understand. So you're talking about an integration of all nations into this greater idea, if I understand.
Yes, of course. It is written, they will all know me from the least of them to the greatest of them, and my house shall be called the house of prayer to all the nations. Of course, it'll be like that.